Welcome to the session uh, on demystifying blockchain for manufacturing, organized under the aegis of Industry 4.0 Expert Committee. Um, Welcome, Dr. Devarajan, President BCIC, Mr. A.N. Chandramouli, who is the Chairman of Industry 4.0 Expert Committee and who is also the moderator for the session. And Mr. Sanket Waykar, who is the lead blockchain consultant, Tech Mahindra. Welcome, Mr. Sanket, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation to address our members on this session.
Thank you.
The Industry 4.0 Expert Committee is chaired by Mr. A.N. Chandramouli and co-chaired by Mr. Jagannathan, COO of M2 Next, a BFW subsidiary, and Mr. S.R. Saju. Welcome, Mr. Saju. He is also present in the session, who is the Senior Vice President and Plant Head, ABB India Limited. And thank you all the participants for uh, joining the session on a Monday morning. I'd like to briefly introduce Mr. Sanket Waykar, who is the lead blockchain consultant at Tech Mahindra. He is a technology consultant helping clients across manufacturing, banking, telecom, and healthcare sectors. And since last 2 years, he is evangelizing potential of Web 3.0, including blockchain, AI, and metaverse. In a career spanning at Larsen and Toubro Center for Industry 4.0 Lab, Infosys, and Tech Mahindra, he has extensively worked with business leaders, advising on to redefine customer experience, profitability, and sustainability and business growth. Now, I would request Dr. Devarajan to set the context. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Sanket and Chandramouli-san. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation for making this blockchain more key area to understand all our areas. Bangalore Chamber of Commerce, as you know, is a leading chamber in Bangalore, and in Karnataka, we have extended to Japan also. We have got 850 plus members, and we have around 28 expert committees in our chamber. And all these expert committees, whether it is finance, manufacturing, logistics, ESG, startup, every area, I think we are trying to make a mark in understanding what's happening in the new avenues. Because India is definitely growing, and Karnataka, definitely in terms of the GST paid, it's definitely second in the league. And even on the last Friday, we have a manufacturing conclave in which even the minister, including the government officials, were mentioning that how well Bangalore Chamber is taking a lead in bringing out the policies and saying how portion of it, not the what portion of it, how portion of it, whether it's quality level or initiatives of training, and that context, how we can improve and make the targets happen, because it's not given. You can't say, okay, we are number 3, number 5 now, we can number 3 because we have got young population. Nothing is given unless we put effort at that level in our area. So what's happening is, and we have a office in Japan, and we are also working with a small and medium scale industry. So we have tied up with MOU with Japanese small scale industries, and we are trying to say how we can support our MSMEs in the quality level, in the startup level. So, and we have something like 250 seminars every year. So almost one every day there is at least 2 seminars. In fact, today, though we have 75 nominations, around 50 people are traveling to Kia. We have a travel visit to the Kia factory, specially organized by the Bangalore Chamber of Commerce. So we have a lot of events happening, and I request all the members to become member, non-members to become member of BCIC, Rupa at bcic.in. Share your experiences, and all these things we are putting into the YouTube also with your permission, so that we want to share as much as possible to many people in our area. So coming to this topic of blockchain is very new in terms of our understanding, but major thing happening today is the data. So data is being, especially from two-wheeler company like TVS Motor Company, where where data is the key for us, especially for transparency, for our data from how where the vehicle is made, where is the intent, and many cases on the air updation, especially for our iCube and electrical vehicles, we keep on updating the the entire profile of the vehicle itself. So in this context, security becomes very, very important. Safety becomes very, very important. This is the area which I feel blockchain is taking a lot of importance, and where the data is stored in a decentralized way, difficult for hacking, all are important because as much freedom you give, so much problem, we might say. So we have to have provision for improvement in our area. I feel majority of our blockchain in previous Motor also we are trying to use it in, say, for example, supply chain management, healthcare in our area, IP in terms of the areas we're trying to use. But still there are a lot of challenges. Okay, the challenges are scalability, probably energy consumption being more. I don't know, but that's another area where we have a problem. A regulatory framework where is an issue, still a challenge, and which is a challenge for widespread adoption of the blockchain. But I feel from the manufacturing front, disruption is going to be there. Are we prepared for it? Are we prepared to embrace this disruption? This left to us. Otherwise, we can't survive. So I think it's a challenge in which today, for all of us in this seminar, to understand that disruption is happening. Let us be aware of it, understand it a little bit better, try to adopt it, embrace it, whether it's ChatGPT or blockchain, disruption is going to happen. It's happening already. So in this context, we like to learn more from you, Sanket. I'm also a learner for this. I like to learn more for this. And thank you very much, Chandramouli-san, for really bringing a new topic. Though we know about it, but it is still demystifying. So thank you very much. And thanks for BCIC, Rupa. Thank you very much for organizing this. And let's look forward for a learning experience for all of us here. And probably we will share this in the YouTube also. Thank you very much. And thanks once again, Chandramouli-san and Sanket, for your presence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Devarajan. Now I would request Mr. Chandramouli sir to take it over from here.
Thank you, Rupa. Thank you, Devarajan sir. And thank you, Sanket, Waykar. I think Monday morning is very fresh, where people are attending sunrise meetings. OEMs like Tata, Toyota, TVS Motors, Volvo, they are attending sunrise meetings. And their sub-suppliers in tier 1 are attending sunrise meetings, Monday morning meetings. And their sub-supplier in tier 2 are also attending sunrise meetings, Monday morning meetings. And maybe in some cases, tier 3 also. Imagine if all the sunrise meetings and sunset meetings and Monday morning meetings and month-end meetings, month beginning meetings can be replaced by a powerful technology. I'm sure that is none other than blockchain. The little knowledge I have about blockchain, we have a great but young person, senior citizens like me, and about to become senior citizens like Devarajan sir, have to learn from younger generation, and emerging technologies have to be taught by younger people. How can an emerging technology be taught by a senior person who's yet to learn about it? Right? So on that note, I just want to share a few more anecdotes about Sanket. Yeah, I just share a slide on that. Rupa, I will see whether my slide is coming up. Just hold on. Yeah, is there a slide visible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, without much ado, webinar on demystifying blockchain for manufacturing. Welcome to all who have joined offline, online, and those who are in the classrooms also. And what I wanted to add to whatever Rupa said about Sanket Waykar, I met him a couple of years back in a great organization called C4I4. Some of you may be familiar with the C4I4, which I'm marking over here. And that is where I met him. He led major projects under this Samarth Udyog Smart Manufacturing Laboratory, one of its kind, which came in the country. In 2017 onwards, they've done a great work. He worked there. And then after that, he went to Infosys to move into part of the industry's 4.0 domain, and finally settling down in Tech Mahindra, where he is leading the blockchain consulting vertical of Tech Mahindra. So these are real life people who are doing real life things and not some academic subjects. During COVID, many forums sessions were held on blockchain, right? And even many people humorously shared that it is only meant for cryptocurrency and so many other things. Whereas Sanket is going to prove it today that it can be used extensively in the manufacturing value chain. He himself worked in Larsen and Toubro for 3.5 years, after which he went to Asian Management Institute in Philippines, and I think Mumbai University is where he did his engineering. Sanket, was it mechanical engineering?
Yes, sir.
Great. So mechanical engineering, MBA, Larsen and Toubro, C4I4, Infosys. With that pedigree, he is talking today on behalf of Tech Mahindra. Right? You can see the remaining notes written there. They're already doing 20 plus clients, more than the number of people attending today's webinar here. Manufacturing, banking, governments, telecom, etc., etc. Several examples. Names of customers are not shown for confidentiality, but he might mention in his. So several leaderships in the various value chain are being, yeah. So rest of the points I think already Rupa shared. I'll stop sharing this. No, I think I have to tell you what do we expect here, or maybe that I leave it to Sanket. Yeah. Okay. So the key takeaways Sanket will talk about. All right. So Sanket, I think you are anyway going to talk about the objectives of the program. So I think, as I told you, the 22 mark is approaching, 21 now. So therefore, we have a great program coming up. In my background screen, you can see the robo also entering as part of the audience to listen to Sanket. Don't get me wrong, I just got the screensaver just now in 2 minutes back. Fantastic MS Teams. Okay, on that note, I want to request all the participants to type their questions, vote of thanks, welcome address, etc. only on the text box. And around 12:30ish, we can bring plethora of questions and bombard them at Sanket. Thank you, Sanket. Over to you. Best wishes. But I'll be listening to you. We will be also sharing this on YouTube later.
Sure.
With the permission of Sanket.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Sanket.
Yeah. Thank you, Chandramouli sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
I told you it's 22 now.
Great. So it's been a long association with you. Thank you again for the opportunity, and I was happy to share whatever learning I got so far. And it's an exciting field, so always open to collaborate, discuss, and learn from each other. And also thank you to Dr. Devraj for joining in and keeping this growth mindset, learning mindset. So that's so modest of you. Thank you for joining. Okay, so before taking much time, we'll start today's session. So I have selected this theme, this demystifying. The genuine reason, the real reason is there's a lot of misunderstanding about this technology. People understand this technology based on their convenience, I would say. So I just thought, let me help based on the understanding that I got so far and the projects that I have worked till now. Blockchain is definitely a new technology. It comes under emerging technologies umbrella. So when we talk about generative AI, blockchain, metaverse, quantum computing, they all comes under the emerging technology. It's a hype topic. This technology, it's, I would say, actually started getting traction around 2018. Though Bitcoin was invented around 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto, the actual enterprise application started coming around 2017, 2018. So if you just consider, if you don't just consider 2 years during the COVID time, it's still emerging and new technology to learn and then try different POCs. Lot of questions people have in their mind: is it secure? Who owns it? If no one owns it, because we are talking about decentralization, then who owns it? Who runs it? Who takes the responsibility from the governance operational point of view? Uh, Already a lot of speculations around regulations. Some countries are regulating crypto. There's a misunderstanding about crypto, blockchain. How do you differentiate? What is the boundary? So I try to help you understand that. Uh, Definitely, it seems complex. If you consider myself, I started this journey 2 years back. When I started, I found it's really difficult to grasp the basic concepts. But once you start correlating your learnings with the actual application, so that's where you find it interesting and easy as well. So that is what I am going to do today. So we'll start with what is blockchain, basic fundamentals, what are the features, how it can help. Then I would go when to use blockchain, because it's not a single bullet. It won't solve the all the problem that world is facing right now. So let's be very pragmatic when we use blockchain, leverage blockchain for the enterprise applications. Third, I have selected few use cases based on the manufacturing audience we have today. But considering it's not just applicable to manufacturing, a lot of applications in BFSI, banking, financial sector, in healthcare, telecom. As a Tech Mahindra, we did one of the largest blockchain implementation for a telecom, that is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. I had a fortune to participate in that project and work with our delivery team. That is the third thing that we'll cover. Then fourth is how do you approach? How do you start your journey with the blockchain? How do you take those baby steps, try those POCs? So that I'll try to cover. And last maybe 10-15 minutes, I'll keep it for the open discussion. Uh, I'll be happy to learn from you your practical operational experience and how we can plug in the blockchain. And that's how I think we can make most of our 1.5 hour time that we have left with us. So let's make it more interactive. And please, like Mr. Chandramouli sir mentioned, please mention those questions in the chat box. We'll pick up at the end of the session. Okay. So if you just consider today's IT landscape or the organizational business landscape, the information that is being shared, it's in bits and pieces. It's in silos. So all the systems work in silos. Those systems, they independently work. They maintain their own copy of data reports, though they share with each other, but there is no central authority who takes responsibility of the data, if it is transparent, if it is right data, uh, what is the source of a data, what is the authenticity of data. So all those questions still remains unanswered. So let's just take example of AI or social media. Let's say we are so used to using social media, but we hardly do any fact check of the information that is being shared. Let it be on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Facebook, or even the Instagram. We hardly do the fact check. So there's a lot of information bombardment that is happening on us, uh, and this is the area where blockchain is finds its sweet spot, because it directly deals with the source of the information. It tells you transparently who is the owner of the information, What is the origin of the of this particular information? All those questions, and that's where the blockchain find its place. And considering this current scenarios, there's a lot of friction happening because someone holds the information, someone else do the service. There's money transaction, financial transaction happening. So all those things comes and make the system more complex. And the if you take the example of a centralized databases, those databases do not scale because there's a multi players or multi systems involved. Like I mentioned earlier, these systems maintain their own copy of record, their own systems, and this all those systems don't talk to each other. They work in silos. So I think Dr. Devraj also mentioned about the security and the privacy concerns that he has, uh, and that those are still valid with the blockchain. And that's how people like me, we are trying to help people understand. Though it's not fully bulletproof in terms of a data security and privacy, but it's definitely a two-step ahead. And it's like I mentioned, it's an evolving field. A lot of new technologies are coming in, and it is making the blockchain more robust and tamper-proof. Considering that we are moving from a centralized to decentralized world. So when we say a centralized system, there is a database administrator who holds the information for the particular organization. Then he shares the information. Though we have achieved some level of decentralization with ERPs. Let's say take example of ERPs, but that decentralization is still valid within the premises of the organization. So we are not still able to completely achieve the end-to-end decentralization if we consider the entire value chain. So we have multi suppliers, we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, and a number of suppliers. We are still unable to bring all of them together, and bringing them together is just a one part. Establishing a trust within all of them, that is another concern that today's organizations are facing. So that is what is possible with the blockchain. This is distributed ledger. So distributed ledger has a multiple names, but blockchain is the most accepted and famous name, and that's how it is called now. So distributed ledger, blockchain is a distributed ledger with a decentralized verification. So it's not like anyone can participate and share information. There's a proper verification process which happens. The information computation and the storage of the information happens over the blockchain. So that's how this overall blockchain system works. Most of people, they compare blockchain with the database. So I would like to share this
Okay.
with you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
At the bottom, there is a ribbon saying stop sharing. Can you just
Oh,
hide that?
okay. Is it better now?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
great. Thanks. Okay, so what I was saying, most of people call blockchain as a shared database. So just for simplification purpose, let's not call it a database. First thing, because database is capable of sharing a lot of information, gigabyte, terabyte of information. Blockchain is not capable of sharing so much of information. So let's not call it a database. Let's call it a distributed ledger. It's a ledger, so it's just simple like an Excel sheet. Okay, and it's a distributed, so it's not the Excel sheet like you can share within your organization maybe, but it's a advanced version of your Excel sheet that you can share with within your organization, outside your organization, and whoever you want to share with. And at the same time, maintaining the data privacy, transparency, and all those features. So I'll talk about the very peculiar features of the blockchain in subsequent slides. But what we are trying to say here is, we are with the blockchain, we are bringing a decentralization, that is no one holds the information. It's a distributed ledger, like I mentioned. uh, Not one person holds the information. Every party in this blockchain network, they have one copy of the information. So that is very important. Third, it's a read and write. There's no update or delete function. So if you want to make any changes, you have to make a new entry. So that makes it very unique, because the clear auditability and traceability of the information on the platform. With the traditional databases, there is a central database administrator or maybe some authorized party. They can make all these changes on themselves, because we have all have agreed that okay, that person has the authority to do that. So that is what we are trying to resolve with this blockchain. Blockchain supports integrity, though there is some information auditability and traceability. We are making sure that the information which is shared on the blockchain, it's unanimous, it's clear. Means if it is a distributed ledger, every party has one version, everyone will have a same information on their ledger. So that is most important thing with the blockchain. And of course, it with all these characteristics, it offers end-to-end transparency and traceability, because nothing to hide. It's open book. Anyone can read, they can participate and make most out of it. Then why do we need blockchain? Because I'm sure most of you will have a question in mind that it's not like within our current ecosystem or the technology that we are using, we are not able to solve some of this problem. I'm sure there are some technologies who are solving the problem, and that's how we are working, right? We are not stopped. We are doing our day-to-day business. We are doing it very efficiently. But with the blockchain, you can bring in some few characteristic or the features in the system that will make it unique. First is the immutable. It's a immutable. So like I mentioned, you can only write and read. You can't delete. You can't update. You can make a new entry. You can change this previous entry by making a new entry. That's make it immutable. So no one can undo any of the transaction that has been entered. Second, it's a decentralized. So no one holds the complete authority of the particular blockchain. I will talk about public and private blockchain maybe in subsequent slides, where though decentralization is the key tenet of this blockchain, considering our enterprises, like let's take an example of TVS. Considering our enterprises, it's our data, right? It's our data, it's our suppliers' data. We would like to hold some control over this network. So that's how the basic features of this blockchain are somehow compromised to bring in some centralization in place. So if TVS is setting up their private blockchain network, we call it permission blockchain, because no one can enter. It's the TVS who will give the authority, and then that particular party will join the network. So this permission or the private blockchain, TVS will decide which party will have what access, okay, for how many times, who will take care of the data security, all those features. So there's some decentralization factor is compromised, but that is for the good, okay, that is for the good, because we want to make sure that the closed knit group of parties or the nodes that we have, they function properly. Okay, there's no malpractices involved, because it's a very sensitive data we deal with. The next is it's a shared and distributed. So when we say it's a distributed ledger, it's a shared with all these parties. It's a distributed. Everyone has a one copy. They can make the changes, and once they make the changes, it will be notified to all the parties. Okay, so nothing to hide. No one can hide anything on this network. It's a more secured. So if you ask me, is it 100% secured? I won't say it's 100% secure right now. It's still evolving. A lot of encryption, decryption technologies are being introduced. Uh, you can just Google it. Zero knowledge proof. It's a ZKP technology uh, that is being used by now public protocols, that is making the blockchain more secure. So down the line, 1 or 2 years down the line, you will see a more secured version of the blockchain with this zero knowledge proof technology. So there's a lot of sorry, there's a lot of changes happening in the industry, in the technology industry, that is making blockchain more secure. Yeah. So I hope maybe I was able to explain you the basic fundamentals or the features of the blockchain, and those features. I think that's important to understand when we before we move ahead. because it's not a single bullet like I mentioned. It's not a magic wand that you can just use and you can solve all your problems. So it's very important at the same time that you understand when to use blockchain, because even at the current organization where I'm working, like Mahindra, we advise some of our clients not to use blockchain, and that is for the very obvious reason that you don't need blockchain for solving your problem. So you need to understand that very clearly, that what is the perfect use case scenarios, the ecosystem that you are working in to leverage this technology. So for that, I have this particular decision matrix chart. There's a lot of versions of this chart available on the internet. I have tried to simplify it just for today's discussion. So the first decision criteria is, do you need a shared common ledger database? Okay. I think this we already talked about what is shared common ledger database. So if you decide, okay, I need a shared database, yes. Okay, then let's move ahead. Are multiple parties involved? If no, there is no blockchain required, because the basic fundamental of the blockchain, like the note on which I started our session, is lack of trust. There's a trust deficit right now in the market, and that trust deficit is blockchain trying to address. So if you feel there are no parties involved, there's only single party which is doing the transaction, you don't need blockchain. But if there are more than 4, 5, 10 thousands of parties who are part of this particular transaction or the business processes, you can definitely consider a blockchain. So you can see here, multiple parties is the major criteria. Then the low trust, if there's a trust deficit. So trust is just not in terms of the uh, the malpractices. I'm talking about if the parties, if they have a different incentives to participate in the business transaction, if they have different objectives, their strategy is different, their way of working is different. So if all this if is question answer to all these questions is yes, then I would say there's a low trust or the minimum trust in the business transaction. And that's how you can decide to go for a blockchain, this particular use case. Then like I mentioned, if there are conflicting interest, okay, let's move ahead. Yes, there are conflicting incentives. My suppliers think it's a different way, I think in different way. His way of working is different. So we should definitely use or consider blockchain. If they are using a different system, then their rules of governing the system and the overall transaction will be different. And if that is yes, then yes, we should move ahead. We should think about using the blockchain. Do you need a immutable record? Do you need some kind of a record which no one can temper, no one can change? If yes, then you should go ahead. If you think no, anyone can join in my network, they can do all the changes and I'm fine with it, then I think you should drop that blockchain idea. Okay. If the rules of transaction, okay, do not change frequently. So within this particular ecosystem that you have built, okay, the suppliers, let's say you have decided that I'll go with this particular blockchain network. I'll involve 10 suppliers as part of this particular network. And you decide some business process. Let's take example of invoice. Okay, invoice reconciliation. It's still a pain point in the industry. Um, because we maintain relationship with multiple suppliers, then they have logistic suppliers. So all those, there's a lot of contractual terms which are different for this particular this number of suppliers. Okay, so those kind of transaction you can very well automate on the blockchain, and we call it smart contract. Okay, there's one more terminology that I'm giving, and blockchain is full of jargons. Okay, blockchain is full of jargons. The basic fundamentals won't change, but it will take some time to get grasp on this jargons. So we call it a smart contract. Basically it's, you are automating the contract. Okay, you have some contractual terms. You decide, okay, if you deliver this particular order within 30 days, I'll make payment in next 5 days. So all those transactions you can automate, and you call it a smart contract. Okay, there's a if and then clauses. If this happens, then I'll do this. So this, if you feel that this can help you, then definitely you should go ahead and decide to go with the blockchain. Now the major things come is deciding whether you should go to a private blockchain or a public blockchain, hybrid blockchain, lot of different versions of blockchain nowadays available. So I'll just quickly try to explain you what are the different versions of blockchain. So public blockchain, that's how the blockchain started. Okay, that's how the evolution of the Bitcoin. And anyways, Bitcoin is one of the blockchain application. Okay, it's not the only application. Bitcoin is one of the application. So public blockchain is basically all those Ethereum. If you have heard about Bitcoin, so all those cryptocurrencies come into picture in the public blockchain. Okay, so you have to buy and then you have to do the transaction, then you have to set up the node, and then there is a proof of work. There is one more jargon I'm giving. Proof of work is basically one of the consensus mechanism, or it's a, in a simple term, it's a benefit that you are giving to miners who mine the bitcoins for doing this particular transaction, okay, on the public blockchain. So in a public blockchain, there's a cryptocurrency involved. There's energy consumption involved. Dr. Devraj, I think, mentioned about they have observed that there's an energy shoot in the blockchain usage. Maybe we need to go deeper. If it is a public or private, we can discuss that later, sir. But in public blockchain, you are using cryptocurrencies, and for mining that cryptocurrencies, that miners will have to consume some electricity. You as a user, you don't have to consume any energy, okay? But if you are concerned about the sustainability, tracing end-to-end sustainability and all those things, yes, public blockchain will definitely hamper your plans to go net zero, consume the minimum energy, because there is someone in the down the line, the value chain, who is mining this cryptocurrency for you to run this public blockchain, is using the energy. Okay, so that is public blockchain for you. Second is a private blockchain. 90% of the enterprise applications are run on the private blockchain right now, while we are speaking. Okay, so private blockchain is basically a permission blockchain. So like give you the example of TVS. You have right to give access to who you want to be, who you want as a part of the network. Okay, so it's a permission. Only with the permission you can involve some parties. Okay, so that's a private blockchain. There's no cryptocurrency involved in private blockchain. Okay, let me reiterate, there's no cryptocurrency involved in a private blockchain. There is no energy consumption headache that you need to consider. There's no energy consumption shootage or all those things. Okay, it's a very simple network of nodes, network of systems, which is run on the private blockchain. So that's how I would, in simple way, I would differentiate the public and private. And happy to answer any questions if you have. Please feel free to write in the chat box, because I'm sure this is the slide where you will have maximum questions. So please don't hesitate to shoot your questions. So now let's say we have decided, okay, I want to go ahead with the blockchain. Um, I know what is the use case I'm going to deal with, how I'm to go about it. There are a few key things that you need to consider when you set up your blockchain network. So it's little heavy slide, so please bear with me. I'll try to explain you. First is the business imperatives. So any business case, be it any, let's say, industrial IoT, augmented reality, whatever the new emerging technologies or the new age technologies you want to implement, you all know this, right? We always go with the business imperatives. What is our strategy? What is our short term, long term goal? What is our ecosystem? Who is our partner? Who is our suppliers? Do we have right set of people to particularly implement this use case? Do we have clarity on the business model? Is it a revenue generating activity for us, or is it an operational activity for us to reduce the operational expenses? So that clarity we need to have. We need to have a right cost model in place. So what is our investment? What is our capex opex model? All those things we have to be very clear. Next is the transaction management. So any processes that happens on the blockchain, there's a transaction which happens. Okay, so we call it TPS, that is transaction per second. So when Bitcoin started, TPS was very low. Its TPS is still very low. Okay, because it's leveraging the proof of work kind of a mechanism, which you consumes a lot of energy. It takes time to mine that block, make that transaction record on the blockchain. It's still very low. But if you consider the enterprise applications, TPS is high. So it's fair enough to go with the private blockchain and it will do its job. Public blockchain, they are also finding their place in the enterprises right now. Um, there's a lot of layer 2 solutions that we call. You can write down these terminologies because that will help you to Google and understand this in detail. So layer 2 is basically Polygon is one of the example. Okay, Ethereum is one of the layer 1 blockchain. Layer 2 is a Polygon. So for the level ones, their TPS is very low. So that's why we cannot use this for the enterprise application. But with this emergence of this layer 2, that is Polygon, Algorand, and all those new protocols, they are finding some place now in even in the enterprise applications. Okay, so this they have a high TPS, that a high transaction. So if you have a high TPS, you can make sure that you respond to any of the requests or any changes very quickly. Otherwise, it will take time to record. Let's say your supplier puts something on the blockchain. It will take some time to get reflected on the shared ledger. So that's the basic fundamental here. So in the transaction management, we generally talk about traceability. We talk about record management, auditability, immutability, trust. So all those features we need to take care while we set up this particular transaction management process or transaction management as one of the features of the blockchain. We need to have a right operational control, because though it's a technology, the kind of people that will be using, they will be shop floor people, there will be mid managerial people who will be using, making the entries. There will be some automated data entries for sure. If you have right sensors in place, those sensors will capture data. That data can be backend. It will be recorded on blockchain. But you need to have a right framework in place, right authorization, who can does what. Consensus management. So consensus is basically the way you bring in consensus among these nodes, because these particular parties, like I mentioned, they have a conflict of interest, they have their own systems, they make their own records. So there are some protocols or the programs which are there as part of a blockchain, which automatically brings in the consensus. Okay, so let's say there's some malpractices, someone has tampered with the data. As per the consensus protocol that you have agreed to, this particular entry will be automatically dropped. Okay, and it will be notified to all the parties that someone tried to tamper with the data. Okay, so that's why you need to have very solid consensus management. We should be as a part of a blockchain. There's a lot of Byzantine tolerance consensus management. There's a lot of different consensus protocols already in the market. Proof of stake is there and all those things. So you can just try to Google what are the consensus management in the blockchain. Then the node management. Node is basically all the parties which are part of a blockchain. We call it a node. This is one more jargon. It's basically one system which is part of the blockchain network. Governance. We need to have right governance model in the place, reviews, audits, so that we make sure that the blockchain is secured and robust. Change management, of course, we need to make people understand what is blockchain and why are we using this. We need to have some digital champions who are very well versed with the blockchain technology. They understand the fundamentals. They have a working knowledge of a blockchain as part of a team, so that uh, the knowledge is properly shared with all those what we say, all the team members. The fourth very important pillar is the smart contract, which I just talked about. So it's nothing but it's an automated if and then clause. If some condition is met, then this will happen. So this smart contract, it's a Java based programming that we have to do. There are different programming language, Java, Node.js, then there is a Golang, then Solidity. So many programming languages are there, but the algorithm will still remain same. So whatever you want to achieve, it can be achieved through different programming languages. So that capability, if even if you decide to, let's say, uh, set up your own team, blockchain team, center of excellence as part of the organization, you need to have some technology experts on these particular languages to work on this particular. Different features of the smart contract: computation, how is going to be compute, if and then clause, like I mentioned, registry, how the data will be entered in the smart contract, tokens. So for every entry, there was some token will be generated. Uh, Oracles is basically how do you extract information from the external parties. Okay, so let's say, for example, you are setting up one application for the ESG recording, that is your the social governance or the environmental sustainability governance initiative. You are setting up one blockchain network, one application, but you need weather information from the government website or the government portal. How do you extract that information? So there are oracles, we call it oracles, is another jargon. Oracles is basically a tool or a platform through which you can extract information from outside. You can leverage that as part of a blockchain. Of course, all this proof and checks and balances, once that is done, you can only use that. So that is oracles. You need to create a channel. So within all these nodes, you have to create proper information sharing channels, and all this so networking and all those things will come into picture. Data storage and sharing is the most important thing. I would just like to highlight here, blockchain is not capable of storing your video files, images. Blockchain can only share the metadata. It can only share the metadata of the information. That is very important. You can, but saying that, okay, you will say, then why do we need blockchain? I need to do visual inspection, the what we say, the sensor based visual inspection. How can I use the blockchain? So for that, you have an external databases that you can leverage. You can store your images, video files on that. That reference you can give back to blockchain database through the metadata, and then blockchain will do its work. So all those provisions are there, and you can smoothly work on the even the large file size. But only thing is, you have to use the external sources or external databases for that. We talked about transparency, how we can bring in transparency. Data backup we have to do with the help of external parties, external databases. Security is another concern. Everyone is talking about security. Is the database, is the blockchain secured? I talked about the zero knowledge proof that is making blockchains more secured, private. Hashing is nothing but the information that you are storing. How do you reference back? How do you get back to that information? So the particular hash is generated this for this particular information, and this hash is unique. So even if you make a small change in the information, that hash will change. Okay, so this hash is very unique, and as you increase the complexity of the information, the nature of the hash will also be very complex. So that's how it works. I hope all of you are following me. I know this slide was a little heavy.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, performance is basically TPS is one of the parts of transaction per second. How is your blockchain performing? Is it efficient? Are you overloading it with lot of nodes, lot of information? So that hampers your performance. So you need to have right solution architect or blockchain solution, a capable and the qualified blockchain solution architect. Like we have a cloud solution architect, okay, we have a AWS and Azure architects. Similarly, we have a blockchain architects who decides what is the volume of information, how many nodes, how can I make it scalable, uh, how can I add a robust blockchain network. So all those things that blockchain solution architect will take care. So that's how this particular blockchain network is organized. And we need to have a very good hold on this particular pillars to make sure that we make a minimum mistakes while we do our POC, because that's how we start our journey, and will talk about that. How do we start the journey there? But understanding of these features is very important while when we start our journey. Okay, I think enough of Gyan. We talked about a lot of things. Blockchain, what is that? What are the features, uniqueness, and all those things. Jargons. I overlaid with a lot of jargons. Let me quickly get back to use cases which have shortlisted considering the manufacturing audience that we have, and one of the project implementation that we at Tech Mahindra did. I cannot give the client reference there, but I can share this learnings with you. Everyone of you, most of you being from the supply chain manufacturing background, you know the kind of a challenge that we face. We are we are getting disjointed information is from a different systems, different suppliers. Internally also we are maintaining different systems, though with the ERP we have achieved some kind of an linearity, or what I would say, a process in place, but still we have to deal with a lot of the disjointed information to any of our daily jobs, or even the use cases if we decide to go ahead. There's a lack of visibility. A lot of application, they say that we can help you in achieving end-to-end visibility, but still there's lack of visibility, because end-to-end digitalization is still a far-fetched goal. We can achieve digitalization to some scale, okay, some level, but bringing IoT at every touch point, it's still a challenge. Okay, so we are facing that. Inventory planning, since we don't have an end-to-end visibility, we face inventory planning. A lot of external factors when we analyze the external environment, the business environment, the disruption that is happening, more from the technology, business, geopolitical scenarios. Uh, we are facing those risks even in our supply chain. That makes our supply chain weak. Global trade challenges. Every country, some countries, they are good in something. They are holding some information, some resources with them, and that makes this overall supply chain prone to a lot of misalignment, I would say. So considering all those challenges, I feel these are the five key areas where the manufacturing should focus, or I'm sure you must be focusing on some of them right now. First is the visibility. How do you make sure that maximum end-to-end visibility you achieve with this technology that you have in hand? Blockchain, definitely, I am a strong proponent of blockchain, so I'll try to make the blockchain use case. But at this, being a cognizant of this, overall the technology landscape, there are the other technologies with which you can still achieve the visibility. So supply chain control tower is one of the use case we can talk about, and we can see blockchain application in there. Warranty, warranty management. There's a lot of recalls happens. OEM face that. So the supplier cost recovery is another use case. Sustainability, very hot topic right now. uh, Sustainability audits companies have to do. They have to prepare reports, and it's not just the sustainability within the organization. We are talking about your complete value chain, end-to-end value chain. Are you making sure the parties you're doing business with, are they sustainable? So those kind of emissions tracking we have to bring in now. So if not now, then in near future, definitely we have to work on that. Fourth is the traceability. So even though not real time, near real time traceability, if we can achieve that will be great. And that's how I think that's where we all are working, how we can do that. So logistic tracking, the third party logistic, or the last mile deliveries, all those areas blockchain can also find, give you some solutions. Then the demand fulfillment is another area where, because of lack of visibility, transparency, traceability, there's the demand and supply gap, and that gap we can fulfill with a blockchain. Again, blockchain is not a single bullet. You can leverage other technologies, but I'll try to make use case or the business case for the blockchain. Uh, so supply chain control tower, basically, since we have n number of suppliers, they have a different tiers of a suppliers. Achieving visibility is a challenge. Okay, we can achieve visibility maybe up to tier one suppliers. Okay, we are directly dealing with them, but there are tier two suppliers. Achieving that end-to-end visibility is a challenge, and the major factor there is lack of trust. No one wants to share the information openly. No one wants to tell them from where they are procuring the information. Sorry, if you can correct me if your organization is following some other practice. We can talk about this. But as far as my understanding goes, suppliers are not open to share all of their information about their parts, their suppliers, where are they procuring, are they sustainable, are they following all the sustainable practices. So that itself is a major challenge. And this is based on my conversation with one of the major auto OEM in India, where they where they shared this particular problem statement with me that Sanket, how can you help us uh, onboard our suppliers? Okay, tier one suppliers, I can tell them on get onboarded. This is the project that we are doing. This is on blockchain. But how can you convince my tier two, tier three suppliers that there is also something for you to be part of this network, and we all can win? So this still a challenge, and companies are facing it. Uh, Problems, I think you already know what is product traceability, higher cost of product details, and all those things. We are facing that because of lack of visibility. What we are doing here is we are setting up a blockchain network. We are giving all those suppliers, all those parties a particular access. They can participate within this blockchain network. We can set up this distributed ledger among all those parties. They can share this information on this network, and that information will not be directly shared with all the parties. So all the checks and balance will be done, right information will be captured, and only that particular information will be shared, and that information will be also be encrypted. So that encrypted information will be circulated among the blockchain nodes, and with the consensus mechanism, you can make sure that whatever information share is right, even though you don't know what is the information, you know it is right. So that is what, in very simple term, it's called zero knowledge proof. Zero knowledge proof. So there's no knowledge about what information is sharing, zero knowledge, but there's a proof for it. So with this, you can make sure you can convince your supplier that boss, we are using ZKP technology for this. We are using blockchain. It's completely secured. I know the you want to you have full right to share your information, but with these technologies you can leverage this technology, and you can decide how much information to share with us. So all those things, all those change management or the suppliers onboarding, we can do with the help of a blockchain. And definitely because of the very intrinsic features of the blockchain, that is auditable. You can trace back all this transaction. So even these manual audits become very easy. It's a completely audited process, so you can just extract the report. You can see all this transaction which has happened, and it will help your external auditors as well to audit your records and give the go ahead. So yeah, so that is the very major business benefit, I would say. This is another major issue which, while discussing one of the Japanese auto OEM, I realized uh, supplier warranty recovery. And there's a vehicle recall, there are even the part recall that are happening. How do we make sure who is responsible? So that traceability is again one of the sub use case under the track and trace, or the supply chain provenance, all those the different names we give it, but the basic fundamentals still remain the same. How can you give these suppliers a confidence that if you participate in this, share your information openly, we can we can find out some solution together. So that is the basic the basic tenant here. We are not trying to blame someone or keeping someone responsible and not to do business with, but we are trying to help each other with this technology, and making it more automated, robust, and yeah. So that's the basic purpose. And we can do this by integrating the ERP systems. Even though these suppliers, they are situated in different part of the world, we can integrate their system. Even we can integrate their emails. So let's say they are doing some transaction over the emails, we can integrate those. If there are Excel sheet that they are using, we can bring in the Excel sheet on the blockchain. So uh, it's end to end. Nothing to worry about how you are sharing the information. Is it as per the blockchain rule book? Nothing to worry about that. Blockchain has a solution to capture information at any form and shape. We can consider that information as part of a network. This is again very interesting last mile logistic tracking use case. This is based on my experience with one of the major logistic company, that how can you help me with the blockchain? And they are already doing a blockchain initiative in house. They have their blockchain center of excellence, and they are particularly exploring this particular use case, that how can you capture this real time information about my logistic suppliers. Because you have contracts based on your logistics service providers performance, and you want to make sure that SLAs are met. This logistics service provider is doing its job best, and you are reaping your business benefits. So with the blockchain, if you are able to uh, I would say, if you're able to capture this information through your IoT sensors, through ERP systems, then rest assured, with the blockchain you can achieve a real-time visibility, and that too in a secured way. No one can tamper with this information. So that is the I would say, that is a way you can upgrade your IoT based application with the blockchain. So I think you're able to see now the pattern. Blockchain is not a standalone technology. It's not like just deploy blockchain and the all the problems will gone. Blockchain will not work in tandem. Blockchain will complement your existing technology stack. Be a ERP, be a AI, be your cloud, be your IoT, industrial IoT. Blockchain will complement them. It's a back-end technology. The front end will still remain same. Front interface, it's simple interface like a dashboard. Backend, like I mentioned, the Java and all those programming language, you have to build this network. With the cloud infrastructure, you have to build a network, and then that will do the job for you. So it's a complementary technology. Uh, we are not we are not proposing any technology which is not tested in the market. A lot of companies are leveraging blockchain right now. Quickly, this is again a sustainability use case. How can you trace back? So I think I already talked about it. It's easier to trace back your sustainability, or sorry, not sustainability, the carbon footprint within your premise or within your enterprise, because you have control over your enterprise, you have control over systems. But how do you make sure, when I'm making the sustainability reports, my suppliers, they are following the minimum carbon footprint? So all those things you can bring in the blockchain. You can create a carbon credit platform even on the blockchain, where you can give credits to the suppliers for following the right practices, minimizing the carbon emissions. And with this immutability, traceability, auditability, of decentralization features, you can make sure that the information which is being shared, it's tampered proof, and you can generate the report out of it, and you can share with the authorities. So the use case, from the business flow perspective, all the four use cases that I have shared, business flows will still remain the same. The business problem is same, but how blockchain can make it more secured, most trustworthy, that is the value addition that you can expect with the blockchain. Uh, Another, this is real time. This is again a demand fulfillment use case where basically you are with the visibility that we have. How can you make a real time decision on these demand fulfillment? How can you resolve that supply demand equation and make sure that our dealers have our equipment, whatever it is, it's a car or whatever equipment, it's the right time, and the right information is being shared. You are cross-checking that information. There's a transparency, there's a trust between the suppliers, dealers. So dealers also feel empowered that the information that I'm sharing is reaching to the OEM. OEM is taking the right action. OEM is also confident that since this information is coming through the blockchain and not through the email, not through the documents, that dealer will say, no, sorry, that was a mistake that we did, and I don't know who did this. So all those things we can rectify, we can correct on the blockchain, and there's a trust among all those parties, and that's how we do business together. This is one of the project that we did for the major auto OEM, global auto OEM. Lot of documentation. It's an inbound logistic use case. Physical documentation that you have to do for your custom clearances, because of lack of visibility. You're holding your inventory. Very usual business problems, or the challenges that we face. And there's a payment delay because there's a lot of documentation. All this process takes a lot of time. Custom clearance, the parts takes time to reach to your premises. Then you take time to verify those parts and the information and all those things. So it is taking some time to pay back to your suppliers. So again, this is one of the factor, or one of the issue of concern among these business parties, when we say there's a delay in the payment. This is the major issue. So how did we solve this? So let's say this OEM, they send the release order. Okay, they send this release order on the blockchain ledger. So you can see this. This is a ledger. Okay, everyone is making entry. There is a auto OEM, then there is a vendor, then there is a custom guys as part of the or this ecosystem. OEM is sending, okay, I want this. It is being registered on the blockchain. Vendor is taking action. It is creating a bill of lading and the packing list and everything. It is also being recorded on the blockchain. Based on that, invoice is generated, and it's auto generated, like I mentioned, with the smart contract, with the if and then clause. You can auto generate these invoices. Everything goes to the clearing agent. Okay, you have custom officers. They have some dashboard. Okay, on this dashboard they have received all these documents. They also trust this system. They trust the blockchain. They know, okay, if it is coming through the blockchain, all the checks and balances are done. They can efficiently take the action, next action. So they have auto verified the document. They declares what is the custom duty to be paid. Auto OEM pays the custom duty. Payment is dispersed accordingly. Entire process, you can see it has considerably reduced the cycle time, turnaround time, and made the process efficient. Now then you're okay to send your your list of items, or the whatever the order is, to OEM, and OEM will confirm, okay, I have received the materials. So there's zero manual dependency. We try to, as part of this POC, we try to make sure that there's no manual intervention. All this information is auto generated and recorded and then auto verified, and there's a single window of information across the supply chain. So everyone will have a same view. It's not like I am a super user, you're a single user, so you will have a different information. So that's how we are maintaining transparency. So you can see some dashboards here just for your reference. So you can see there is timestamp, there's smart contract based automatic invoice reconciliation. So as soon as the parts are reached, invoice is generated, your payment is done. So it will considerably reduce your payable time, and it will reduce your payable days actually on your balance sheet. Some business benefit, just quantification of what we were able to achieve. Just for your quick reference, so technology terms you can also find them if you just try to go deeper. Hyperledger Fabric is one of the major private protocol that I would say 85-90% of the businesses are when they are using enterprise businesses, when they are using private blockchain, they use Hyperledger Fabric. uh, HLF, we call it HLF, Hyperledger Fabric. The Node is one of the programming language. AWS, you can deploy your applications on the cloud. And nowadays, AWS, even the Google GCP, they have their blockchain frameworks. For AWS, they call it AMB, that is a managed service, Amazon Managed Blockchain. So you don't have to worry about anything about your infrastructure. You just have to maybe hire one blockchain architect who can design the blockchain network, who is very capable on the cloud infrastructure, and he can deploy those applications on the cloud. So, and with the Hyperledger Fabric protocol, all this consensus management, smart contracts, and everything will be built. So all that's how this technology work together. MongoDB is again is one of the external databases. So let's say you want to share or store some video files, some files, then MongoDB, you can share those with the MongoDB. Yeah. So now we are almost to the end of the session, and I would like to make it more interactive, understand your perspectives, learn from you as well, and I'll try to give us some simple framework how to think about blockchain, how to decide, and let's not treat blockchain as a alien technology which we find very difficult. It's a very simple technology. We are a business user. We are not a technology expert who should understand how mining works, how consensus mechanism works, because that's up to the architects who will take it. So let's understand more from the business perspective. How do you strategize? How do you select use cases? How do you make sure that you have right set of people, partners, suppliers, everyone as part of the is particular ecosystem to make you successful. So that is the purpose behind this discussion. So first thing is first, we need to understand the use case. So that use case will be based on the business objectives and the priorities that you set for your next 5 years. And if you ask me, rather than experimenting a lot, it's always good to go with the use cases which are trial and tested in the market, because like I mentioned, it's still emerging technology. Supply chain is the area where there are major blockchain applications happening, and you will feel a lot of peer learnings or the learning from these your competitors, that how they did it, what went wrong, how can I rectify those. So that is the one thing that you can definitely consider, that let's leverage the existing learnings, the projects that have been done in the market. Supply chain is the major area. Under that, I think we already discussed about warranty management, track and trace, sustainability track and trace. So you will see the what we say pattern here, that track and trace is the major theme, and under track and trace you will identify different use cases. So now it's up to you, in what business area you find a sub use case under track and trace. So let's brainstorm, let's sit together, um, your digital champions or your technology expert innovation team, and then brainstorm and come up with a use case. Next is the choosing of the blockchain platform, because that's a major decision that we have to take. And that's where the maybe you will need some external help or some experts to solution architects to guide you, that which blockchain platform to go with. There are some software as a service platform which are available in the market. Those are more like a low code, no code platform, plug and play platform. So you just bring in those platforms, integrate with your systems, backend, do some modification. So those guys will do the modification, and you can see the real working of the blockchain. That is one way of working. Second is you decide to build your own blockchain. Okay, you decide to build your own bespoke model, we call it. And that's how major efforts will go, because you need to take care of your security, interoperability, all those suppliers you want to invite and make part of the blockchain network. You need to hire you need to hire right set of people, because let me tell you, blockchain is very rare skill set in the market. People are still learning. People who claim they know everything, I hardly trust their the kind of claim that they make, because it's still evolving and a lot of changes happens regularly. So that we need to be very cautious about the team that we are building. So that is the another thing that we need to take care. Like any other technology implementation, let's decide on the proof of concept. So let's decide, let's say if I'm deciding a track and trace, I'm going with the let's say uh, supply chain warranty. Okay, let's go with the two of your suppliers, get them onboarded, tell them what we are trying to do, integrate your system, play around it, learn, fail. That's part of this game. And then bring in some minimum viable product, some proof of concept that you can demonstrate to management that this is how it works. Because the world is completely divided on the blockchain. Something it's a miracle, and something it's completely waste of our efforts. So we have to be very what we say, uh, very clear, and we need to very convincing to the management. Even though if they are not in the favor of blockchain, tell them how that will how it's different and not very different in a way. So that we have to take care. And I think with the some demonstratable product, it always helps. I think you all will agree. Telling on the slides that I'm doing an industrial IoT project and demonstrating a small use case, it's makes a whole lot of difference. So it's always, people always respect someone who demonstrate, okay, who knowledge, okay, we all can learn, we can get knowledge from the internet, we can learn from each other. But demonstrating, setting up a small project and making it successful is it's a huge thing. So I think we should focus there. Then next is the build ecosystem. So like I mentioned, blockchain is a evolving field. A lot of people claim they know, uh, but at the same time we learn from each other. So build partnership, introduce new vendors, new suppliers, new startups, because startups, they have unique solutions and they are very agile. That their go to market is much quicker than any of the, I would say, any IT giants or even the big companies, because they know their game very well. They know, and they are started, we call it digital natives, right? We call it digital natives because they started in this era, digital era. So they know how to play around this technology, uh, understand the business process, and that's how this combination will work. Because you will bring in your technology, or sorry, not technology, but the process or the business perspective, and then they will bring in technology expertise. So that's how you build your ecosystem. You forge partnerships, you deploy back-to-back POCs, you get approvals, you take them through production, you scale them from one plant, you take them to other plants, and scaling is not an issue. I think most of you will agree. Scaling is not an issue. It's this the first step, first a couple of baby steps that you need to be very careful, and then you can scale it very easily. Some engagement model you can think about, custom development, like I mentioned, a bespoke model, building everything in house, setting up your team, setting up blockchain network, uh, leveraging your existing servers and IT infrastructure and building on top of it. That is one way of doing it. Second is blockchain as a service. So you are basically leveraging some other platform. Okay, you're configuring that platform to your systems, doing all this integration, all those things. You're deploying that on a cloud. You're not deploying that on a service. So there is no headache of a cloud infrastructure on you. And if you ask me, this is the right spot if you are deciding to go with a POC, because there's a little overhead that you need to take care, a little capex investment you have to do, blockchain as a service, if you decide there's a platform as a service, you can bring in startups. They have some pricing models which is user based or the activity based. Then you bring in cloud, like let's say AWS. They have AMB, that is Amazon Managed Blockchain. It's again a very flexible pricing structure. You can decide uh, how do you want to run this business, how do you want to so that flexibility Amazon is giving you. So you can definitely leverage this for the POCs if you consider. Yeah, I think with that I've covered my presentation. I will leave you with this particular Dilbert cartoon uh, because there's a lot of interactions and discussions happening in the market, even in the office premises. Are we should try generative AI, we should try blockchain, but the little understanding we have, and having little understanding is okay, but having that growth mindset, learning from each other, learning from peers, learning from the expert in the industry, um, bringing that learnings at our office place, so that will make whole lot of difference. So that is where I think the first step is change management, where you're motivating your team to learn more about the blockchain, do some certifications, bring in some external experts. So that's how you start. If you ask me, that's how you start. um, with that, I think I'll leave this to you, to the open discussion. Any of you want to discuss something, any questions you have based on the presentation, outside presentation, happy to answer those.
Very good, very good. So we can also have people raising the hand. There is a hand thing is there. So I'm very happy that your time management is so good. It's exactly 1 hour. I think we covered everything, but it's still finished in time.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. So can I start with 2 questions
Sure, sir.
to warm up the others? Number 1 question is about the appropriateness for the Indian market. Number 2 question is about the affordability for the Indian market. So the 2 questions, right? It's very clear that from all the discussions, if I had to put the yes for all that flow chart in that second or third slide, maybe can you flash that slide?
Yeah.
That slide talks about the appropriateness, feasibility and appropriateness, and when to do it. When to do blockchain is appropriateness, correct?
Yeah.
Affordability is a cost benefit analysis, the business case as it were. So I asked this question for any of the industry 4.0 technologies in different forums. So I'm saying to the yardstick is same. Is it appropriate? Is it affordable?
Right.
So
Yeah,
this flow
sure.
chart doesn't talk about, to some extent talks about appropriateness, but it's very silent on the affordability. That anyway we'll talk about later. We need to expand this flow chart with these things.
Right.
You notice that if the questions for up to 6 questions come no, then blockchain not required, correct?
Yeah, right.
My questions, of course, is not for myself because I don't run an industry now, but for the benefit of all the audience. Can you not say out of 4 out of 6 or yes, but anyone is no? Can we not still look at blockchain, or it is no, purely the flow in the linear equation only we have to look at? Is it?
Okay, sure. So I think, sir, I'll try to address. I think you have asked me 3 questions.
I'm sorry.
Hello.
I'm sorry. Hello.
Yeah.
This is recording.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible.
You're
Yes,
audible,
yeah.
sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll start with the appropriateness for the Indian industry. I think that's what, sir, you asked me first. Definitely this is appropriate, and you'll be surprised that we are the leading blockchain adopter in the world. So it's not the US, it's not the Europe. So it's India, which is, I would
I
say,
see.
one of the top five, top three countries based on my conversations with the customers. And then there's the Middle East. So Dubai is doing a lot of stuff in the crypto and the blockchain space, in the metaverse space, uh, because the government is still more digital than the private industry. We all know they have so many government initiatives which are completely end-to-end digitalized than any of the private companies. So that gives them some kind of an motivation to adopt these kind of a new age technologies. But considering our blockchain, sorry, the Indian context, more from the regulatory and the even the governance government perspective, a lot of regulations are coming in, and we are little cognizant on the crypto side, but yes, definitely on the enterprise blockchain side, the government is very supportive. Telangana is leading in the front. A lot of use cases they have implemented. Maharashtra government, they have implemented a couple of use cases in the caste certificate issuance and that process. I heard about one of the government, I think in the northern part, that they are issuing uh, the our education certificates on the blockchain, because right, there's a lot of malpractices happens in terms of claiming. A lot of people, even if if you take just example on the LinkedIn, a lot of people claim they have graduated from the premier business schools. They have done kind of a certifications, or the but not the full time, but they still claim that I have done. So those kind of verifications are very much possible on the blockchain, and we can do that. So yeah, so I think that is taking traction.
So,
Yeah.
okay, broadly you answered, but I will now
Mhm.
come to a specific question of appropriateness.
Mhm.
From your experience of this 20 odd customers and other overall market,
Mhm.
some market study you would have done, which sectors are most relevant to adopt this practice or technology?
Yeah, sure.
Mention top
So
three.
top three, sure. So first is definitely BFSI, banking and financial services. All the analyst report, if you go through, uh, they will also claim the same. Uh, and it's based on their data only. I'm telling, it's not just my understanding, because
So what you're saying
that's,
is BFSI will put a tick on
yeah,
all those 6 questions.
first, yes, that is first. Second is definitely manufacturing.
No,
I
stay with the
even
BFSI. So
Mhm.
obviously, due to the transactions being not cannot be public, it will
Yeah.
go to private blockchain.
Yes. So BFSI, they're setting up their banking consortiums. So consortium is basically not one single bank is setting up blockchain network. 5, 10
Oh, I
banks, they
see.
are coming together. They're setting up their consortium. All those the bank balance reconciliation, all those things are, they're trying to test it on blockchain. So you will soon
Okay.
see a lot of use cases in the banking side.
But question is, rules of transaction do not change frequently.
Mhm.
Is it a yes or no for BFSI?
Uh, so that's how you can see this is at
Have you
very
framed that question properly? It's a little misleading. Rules of transactions change frequently is yes, or do not change frequently is yes.
if that does not change frequently, then that makes sense, that makes a use case for a blockchain. If it is changes
I see.
frequently, you cannot set up process, because there's no dynamic what we say rules that you can build. You just build one rule based on the process that is applicable to all those parties, and you just go with it. If you want to set
I
up new
see.
requests, you have to set up another channel, we call it, and then you set up that process. So
I got it.
that is possible, if you want to set up, but that dynamism is the major factor. Yeah.
Good. So please tell me, which is the second
Mm.
one after BFSI?
It's a manufacturing.
Like manufacturing. I don't like the word manufacturing, I tell you.
Uh-huh.
There are more than 40 sectors in manufacturing. Please tell me the sector.
Okay. uh
Even making
okay,
food and beverage is manufacturing.
right.
Even
So
aircraft is
I
manufacturing. We talk about manufacturing in terms of fulfilling these 6 questions
Right. So in
from your
that case,
experience.
I'll go with the use case, because
Yeah.
though you come from a discrete auto process, any manufacturing, uh, the supply chain will still remain same. The warranty issue is still there. So if you just look at more from the use case perspective, that's why I mentioned manufacturing, because it's this particular use case find its major application in the manufacturing. So supply chain, track and trace, knowing the origin of the product, tracing it end to end, visibility, all those things is one of the major use case. So we call it farm to fork. So right from the farm to your plate, uh, building that particular process visibility on the blockchain. And yeah, so that is one of the I think that is leading use case.
You mean to say that discrete manufacturing
Mhm.
as compared to continuous process manufacturing?
Yeah,
Discrete manufacturing is appropriate for blockchain.
yeah,
But within that, there are many industries which have got only one tier of suppliers.
Mhm.
Even aircraft manufacturing, while people think that's a huge supply chain,
Mhm.
9,000 manufacturers in America directly supply to Boeing.
Mhm.
So this tier 1, tier
Okay.
2, tier 3 concept, like unlike automotive,
Mhm.
doesn't apply to aerospace.
Right.
Boeing
Mhm.
can interact with the smallest supplier of a tail lamp
Okay.
as well as the largest supplier like a jet
Right.
engine.
Mhm.
So anyway, so discrete manufacturing again in Indian context, your experience, can you say very successful is automotive?
Yes, definitely. Automatically, we can definitely say that, and we can deploy this blockchain use case there.
Right. Okay. The related question, the other question I came back is the question about affordability.
Mhm.
Because it looks like an OEM has to drive this, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, it is not a standalone application like the other Industry 4.0.
Right.
Here, there should be a collective participation of many people,
Mhm.
which itself is item number 2 or multiple parties involved.
Mhm.
So then only it defines. So in the multiple parties, the initiative will be taken by the final beneficiary,
Yeah.
kind of OEM, correct?
Right. Right.
Who
Right.
integrates
So
all the parts, etc.
yeah. Right. I think
How does the cost benefit analysis work out when
Mhm.
multiple parties are involved but the OEM have to cough up the entire effort in
Mhm.
terms of money as well as people involvement and other things?
Right. Right. I think, sir, this is very important and very relevant question, because whatever our business case, everything comes down to cost, investment. Uh, but there has to be one entity who should be taking a lead in setting the private blockchain. So in case of automotive industry, auto OEM will take a lead because they want to establish end-to-end and all those things. So if they decide to take a lead, maybe they will have to shoulder the maximum cost. But I'll just tell you the another factor here. If as an automotive OEM, you are able to create some kind of a business model, some kind of a cost benefit analysis, convince your suppliers, then I think once they see some value there, they can shoulder some cost for at least their excess. But saying that, I would say maximum cost the OEM will have to bear,
Fair enough.
and
My
this is
question is
this
not
is
that.
not
So what is the payback period for that guy who coughs up the biggest amount? Would you say 6 months, 1 year? Has anybody can measure it before and after the blockchain?
Mhm,
The monetary issues before, monetary issues, monetized issues after the blockchain. And then
mhm.
they come to say that this is a period in which the investment in blockchain can be recovered by a given OEM,
Right,
let's say automotive.
right,
Any
right.
experience on that?
Yeah. Okay. I would say these like there's no maximum upfront cost, so it's mostly operational or running cost which is there, because you are using AWS infra, you're using some software as a service platform. So considering your operational expenses, there will be very minimum investment involved. And like I mentioned, it's still emerging. A lot of companies are still in a POC phase. They're still in a pilot phase. Very few companies have scaled it.
I
And
know,
the
but when
obvious,
you make a 3-year roadmap, POC is a good to
Mhm.
start with.
Yeah.
But unless Waykar is convinced
Mhm.
that over a period of 3 years, the operational benefits vis-a-vis the operational costs or
Mhm.
the operational benefit vis-a-vis the investment cost in the beginning is a very attractive return on investment. I wanted to refrain from using the word return on investment, but you forced me to do so.
Mhm.
So, see, any amount of subscription model and other concepts doesn't take away the challenge of return on investment. It could be
Right.
a subscription model, but still it is cost benefit in a given month.
Yeah.
If I'm putting in 1 crore, am I getting 2 crore benefit? To put it very
Right.
layman's language. What is your take on that?
Right. That I won't say directly. Maybe a year, claiming a year will be difficult because it varies from the use case to use case, the scale, and all those features, all those things.
Your own experience
But
of those 20
but
companies.
2 to 3 years benchmark you can consider. 2 to 3 years.
No, if that is initial investment, but if everything is operational cost and revenue, what is the ratio of value divided by cost? Benefit divided by cost, as cost benefit ratio, as we call it. Anyway, I'm not expecting you to give a precise answer, but you can give a range of thing. Is it not a big challenge when you say in your own 7 pillars, the first pillar being the business case? Is it not necessary unless and until you overcome the first pillar? The other 6 pillars will remain academic and technology driven.
Right.
I'll park that question in your thought. Now let me read
Sure.
what Veera Bhaskar is asking. Is there a threshold or optimum number of participants to go in the implementation? How the proof of concept works in enterprise application, private blockchain? There are 2 different questions. Second question, I don't understand. First question, I think you can answer it.
Yeah. Yeah, so there is no minimum, I would say, but definitely, if you are going with a POC, I would say you should target more than 5.
In general, forget about POC. Even in general, is there an optimum number of participants? Go ahead in the starting itself.
Okay, I'll tell you the fundamental here. More number of participants you have as part of a blockchain network, you can expect a better secured and privacy, because your particular transaction is verified with by the maximum nodes, maximum participants. As you lower the number of participants, you are compromising with your privacy, verification, and all those things. So yeah, I'll leave you with this thought. You should focus on maximizing, but don't maximize it so much that it hampers your TPS, that transaction per second. So you have to strike that perfect balance. uh, don't compromise with your privacy, and at the same time, don't compromise with the scalability. So that balance we have to strike.
No, that's fine. That's qualitatively fine. Okay, fine. Then how proof of work works with the enterprise application, private blockchain? What does it mean?
Yeah.
Then Mr. Veera Bhaskar can ask the question. He can open the audio.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Go ahead. Which company, sir?
So, 7th mile shift.
Sorry?
7th mile shift.
7th mile shift. Which business you are in?
Into supply chain consulting.
All right. Go ahead, sir. Explain the question.
Yeah. During your slide, Sanket, you're mentioning that in private blockchain, the energy consumption is low because the proof of work is not there, like public blockchain. So
Right.
basically, proof of work is the basic foundation of any blockchain. So
Yes.
I was interested how it works in the private, and how do you say that energy consumption is low?
Right. Great. Great. Nice. Proof of work is basically applicable for the public blockchain, like I mentioned, for the Bitcoin. If you consider private blockchain, there are other consensus mechanism like proof of stake. So proof of stake is basically how much stake you have as part of a blockchain network. So let's say your company, you are initiating a blockchain network, you will have a maximum stake. So if you have maximum stake in the network, you have a power to govern the network. Okay, you can decide what kind of transaction, who will have what right, and all those things. Okay, so that's how it works, though it compromises the basic fundamentals somehow of the public blockchain, because blockchain inherently is expected to be decentralized, so no one should have a maximum stake. But considering our enterprises, the kind of business that we deal with, we have they have scaled it down, and they have tried to give some leverage to the party who is organizing this network, who is initiating this network, so that there is a proper governance model and security and all those things. Hope it answered your question.
Yeah, partly, yes. Thank you.
Nice, thanks.
So there is one question in the chat box.
Uh-huh.
I think Mr. Veerabhaskar just now he spoke. I think this is answered. I'm not sure, sir. Is there any threshold or optimum number of participants to go ahead in
That question
implementation?
already discussed.
Is answered. Okay. Okay, sir.
Oh, you went for coffee, I think. Okay, doesn't matter. So generally, I find we are still waiting for some more questions. We have 17 people on the call. Devarajan sir, automotive industry you are representing. So can you
Yeah,
take
I
lead on
think
some?
see one thing from our experience also, if we are talking about the return on investment and other areas, this is going to be an investment. So it's better to consider, because it's going to be using the AWS and other areas where we can use it and becomes a revenue expenditure by itself. The major thing we found, or we're trying to grapple, is on the proof of concept itself.
Okay.
So that's the area where critical supplier, critical dealer, integrating with that. The main benefit is, if there's one recall, you will know the benefit of this.
Mhm.
Traceability, because today the RTI, the information to the customer is so high. As a manufacturer, as a supplier, we should protect ourselves with all the information about traceability, all the information about manufacturing, ourselves to be in the business itself. So we found that we are not able to give that value to it. But if we don't do it, what happened to the business? So that is a major thing I found in traceability, IoT, blockchain in terms of the security. The only issue is on the type of checks, the energy conservation mode, and delay in some of these areas also. In some areas they may require a faster response. That's the area where I think the technology is catching up, and that's the area in which probably we should keep our this thing. So back to our this thing, as a manufacturer, we should make a beginning now to go forward as a POC, understand this particular topic ourselves, and then be aware that this is a must be for us in the future. Because if you are not doing it, of any recall or any information, we should be protecting ourselves as a business. So this is the area where I feel the entire the new technology is coming into fore, and it's catching up very, very fast. Secondly, even the computing power also has gone up. So the speed of response is coming down. Only you should talk about any other regulatory, because if you're talking about, my personal thing is, if you say they modify the software on the air. So second, we get a lot of information about the customer of his usage.
Mhm.
So we may not like it. So if it is encrypted, we are confident to the customer, they are prepared to share. I think we should put all this as a 360-degree benefit rather than only the cost.
Right.
Is according to me, to make it much more beneficial and faster implementation of the blockchain. This is my opinion and understanding of this technology till now, sir.
Nice. Great way of putting it together, sir. Nice.
And the major area is supply chain, dealer, and tier 1, tier 2. Now we're talking about sustainability. recycling of our battery, for example, whatever. I think it has to go to the extent of, but there is definitely a handshake acceptance where you should build it up along with the supplier, along with the dealer, along with the end customer also. Because customer today in all our vehicles, anything, they're looking at an experience. They're not looking at the product. So how easy it is, how confident it is, of whatever they're sharing, that portion of confidence, that portion of the information being secured can be given only by these type of technique because it is one-to-one.
Right.
It is not shared with anyone else. So those things, I think, the communication portion of our technology would help us to take it forward.
Now, Sanket,
Is my understanding right, Sanket?
No, perfect, sir. I think you are rightly put it together and summarized it. And I think very fair points you have put forward. And it's also nice to hear from you that how you are looking at things, how TVS is open to leveraging these technologies, because not everyone has such open mindset while deploying this technology, because we are concerned about our operational workings, and make sure that it's not hampered, it's not no one wants to play around it. So people are okay with the status quo. But I think it's the leaders who decide the fortune of the company, basically. So, and leveraging this emerging technology is definitely a step ahead. It's not a step back. And yeah, it's great.
okay, now I want to ask you two challenging questions. Considering Devarajan sir's narration and the chain that you drew with innumerable number of suppliers and innumerable number of dealers in a two-wheeler market. I'm specifically defining the sector, not generic saying manufacturing kind of thing. Two-wheeler manufacturing sector with enormous number of dealers on the one hand and enormous number of suppliers on the other hand. In between the anchor sitting called TVS Motor, correct? If that is a use case, as an example I'm taking, then the biggest challenge on the customer front is a warranty management, and even post-warranty, how the product is behaving in the hands of the customer in terms of failures, spare parts changing with or without spare parts, labor maintenance, right? That is one set of transactions at the customer direction towards the dealer. Dealer is the one which, as a nodal agencies, as we call the nodes, hopefully will collect the information. On the other hand, the supplier, both the aggregators of tier 1 as well as the nodal suppliers at tier 2, tier 3, has a huge number of quality and delivery issues. Now I place the challenge that in a lean manufacturing environment with just-in-time policy prevailing at the supply chain, if not at the customer front, right? The use case of blockchain, it looks to me that the payback should be only 6 months. Because the humongous amount of cost of quality, I was very glad you said the very first box you had in your use case number 1 was cost of quality. The very first person so far in my seminars of the last 4 years mentioning cost of quality is a driving factor is yourself, Sanket. Congratulations for that. Right? I never spoke to you on your content. And therefore, it's a doable proposition. And cost of quality is starting with supplier at one end and the dealer and the customer at the other end. So Devarajan sir is rightfully stated that this is a humongous monetary potential, financial impact. So I'm very surprised that globally there are no automotive case studies. And everybody talking BFSI, cryptocurrency, and you also mentioned BFSI. This is the first point. So you have to answer me the question. Is it not even an intuitive use case where the automotive industry globally and as well as in India will benefit out of blockchain? Number one. Number two is, can we create a consortium of automotive companies? Like your BFSI consortium.
Right.
They're all competing banks, but still they are doing a consortium so that there are many common pain points. Like for example, the check transaction on Monday morning.
Right.
But 2 days back, I gave a check to the bank. The bank is saying only Monday they will give the bank check to the thing, and then Tuesday only will release. Very sad. I thought in a digital era it should happen within few hours. Anyway, checks are checks, so physically they have to go to somebody. But in the blockchain concept, if BFSI can utilize that kind of a thing, check clearance and all. Similarly, quality clearance and outgoing quality at several suppliers, when they are cleared in a chain of command, and the control tower is, let's say, Dr. Devarajan, and the chain of command from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, everybody clears quality.
Right.
Based on agreed rules of transaction, as you mentioned. And I was a little sad to see that only when there is a lack of trust, we should do it. But maybe the word trust has to be understood properly.
Yeah.
So whether there is trust or not, we should do this because an innumerable number of transactions from innumerable number of suppliers. Single supplier making several parts or several suppliers making the same part. Both are possible.
Right.
The child
Right.
part, as we call it. So don't you think that this consortium, even if single company can achieve it in 6 months, a consortium can do a payback period in 2 months? There can be 10
Right.
two-wheeler companies, 10 car companies, 10 truck companies can come together and address their common issues. Don't you think so? Tech Mahindra is not looking at such things.
Right. No, I think that's a great proposition, and that will be a great proposition, and will be accepted if all these auto OEMs, even suppliers, they have common understanding of the blockchain, because that is the important thing. Because everyone has their own definition. So if they have come together, they have common understanding, they agree, then I think definitely that will makes a lot of sense. Because you can correct me, sir, if I'm wrong, but the suppliers, they are not just supplier to TVS, right? They're supplier to other OEMs as well. So if we are part of a single consortium, there is clear visibility and transparency also in terms of doing business together. So that is I
No, I
think that
thought
is
you
the
mentioned that in the case of banking, finally it will become private platform for each bank, correct?
yes, it will become private, but that's a different scenario. I'm just considering more from
Similarly,
the
it can be a
yeah.
private platform per OEM.
Yes, so that access management is it's up to us. We can do that. How do we want to
The
do
reason
that?
I'm making this, Sanket, the variables and the parameters of all the automotive OEMs are identical.
Right.
So it will be foolhardy to make several business models which are varying with each other and to do what is called the customization and all. It makes no sense to me.
Right.
Quality delivery cost is common to all. Flexibility is common to all. Customization is common to all. Lean principles are common to all. In which case, logistics is common to all. In which case, if you just develop, like SAP initially made one standardized model, then they do a small tweaking of customization. In fact, they resist customization, which is good. You know, we keep talking about customization consultants who made more confusion than the original platform of ERP. So likewise, if you can make one single sector specific, that could vary from sector to sector, but I can imagine the parameters changing from an oil and gas sector vis-a-vis automotive sector.
Right.
The valve industry, for example. So maybe I'm just leaving some food for thought for yourself and your company.
Sure.
But coming back to the 20 companies that you mentioned, 20 plus, majority are BFSI?
Majority of BFSI, yes.
And the next in command is automotive, right?
Yeah.
And the third will be, you mentioned there is a third sector also showing interest.
Third, I would say is close. Means between public, and I will refer back to Middle East conversations because Middle East governments are very advanced in terms of adopting these new age technologies. So
Acha, government, I see.
governments, yeah. So even the UNICEF or Gavi, this vaccine manufacturer and vaccine authorities, so they also tried use cases in blockchain. So even in Africa,
Who are
lot of
the
African.
nodes in that case? In those case study, who are the nodes?
So if you take example of vaccine ledger,
Healthcare sector.
healthcare, I'll take example of vaccine tracking. In that case, there were vaccine manufacturers, then vaccine the dealership, or not, if not the dealership, then who is
Hospitals.
doing the last
Hospitals.
miles? Yeah, hospitals, last miles, who in delivering this, then governments. So with this vaccine ledger, you can make sure that if those vaccines which are
got it.
delivered to you are right vaccines, are they all these checks and balances are done or not? So that those kind of things we can
Got it.
you can do this. Yes, vaccine ledger.
I can see healthcare being a very important area because the number of actors are huge.
Right.
And
Right.
trust deficit can be very high.
Yes.
Here I can understand the meaning of trust.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 9 o'clock now, hard stop. And Devarajan sir, your few words and then I can close.
I think it was, thank you very much, Sanket. It was a very, very interesting, in-depth information. You started with a broad areas and you went into ABCD of how it can be implemented and tried. I think very informed information which you shared with all of us. We might have many areas in which when we make a beginning, we may touch base with you.
Sure.
To have further discussion with various of our IT as well as on the supply chain team and the dealer team to take it forward.
Sure.
But I think, but many of you mentioned many are banking in terms of areas. But I also find many of the automobile sectors have started using it in a small area in terms
Right.
of dealer, in terms of the some supplier of critical areas. But I think it's catching up.
Yes.
And with the information base getting faster, with the churning power of IT getting faster, the response time also will become faster with security into mind. So
Right.
I once again thank you, and probably this is applicable to all our other members also. For example, we have an insurance team, we have a banking team. Probably from BCIC, if we consolidate all our team together in one of our NC meeting, I request you to participate or share this
Sure.
presentation again, because this is a technology in which even legal areas, including hospitality, including our finance, taxation, the applications can be plenty, and we should make a beginning, apart from the automobile sector, which you already mentioned too. So once
Right.
again, thank you very much. And thank you, Chandramouli-san, for bringing such a wonderful speaker to BCIC. Let us take it forward and bring the technology forward into our chambers. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. And happy to collaborate, sir. Happy to support. And you being a nodal body in the Karnataka, we can also maybe take this message to government, how they can look at the blockchain more from the social perspective as well. The different use cases which other governments are trying, be it Maharashtra or the
especially
others.
one more thing is the education institution. And one more thing which I found the last time when we were in a manufacturing conclave, we were discussing with Sujan Krishna, saying that how technology, she was trying to bring BCIC to become a core in bringing technology to the government. And she said administration will help us to do that. So probably education, MSMEs, and sharing of the government information to the needy, it will help us to take. And secondly, they were all talking about educational institutions too. And I was told that even CM Sun is working on the CSR for government for the education institutions. So We have to see where all we can try to apply, and they are looking BCIC as a sharing partner with the government. So we will take it forward, Sanket, and
Sure.
Chandramouli, I think he'll definitely need us for the application portion of it more as well. So thank you,
Sure.
Chandramouli-san, for this excellent
Thank you,
speaker.
Dr.
Thank you.
Devarajan. I think both government and industry, a lot of connections by BCIC. Dr. Devarajan is very excited, and probably Tech Mahindra can do a symposium in Bangalore. And I request Sanket to bring a couple of more experts from his company. Some back-end people who talk about pure technology, some front-end people who talk about marketing, and along with you as an anchor. We can have sessions, 2-3 sessions. We can also have what is called a panel discussion, where we'll bring some end-use industries like automotive, BFSI and all. And we can have a half-day or a one-day symposium in a hotel.
Yeah.
And on that, we'll talk offline. And thank you very much, Mr. Sanket. I think you opened our eyes, because during COVID, everybody talked about blockchain.
Yeah.
Then after 4 years, now we are again talking about blockchain. So it is very refreshing.
Right.
Because we should not reject any of the 10 technologies of Industry 4.0. So long as we understand the nature of appropriateness and the nature of affordability. And these two are the most important thing. And your flowchart was really helpful in opening your mind in thinking of the yes and no operative.
Right.
If similar flowchart, Devarajan sir, we should ask our other experts to make.
Yeah.
Somebody talking about Robo and Kobo, can we have a flowchart like that?
Correct.
Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Very good idea. Good idea.
Great.
Good
Like
idea.
that.
Great.
Somebody is doing artificial intelligence. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Somebody is doing, let's say, of course, Internet of Things. Yes, no, yes, no, yes. Like that, you know. But Sanket was very careful in not answering the affordability, because he has to ask permission from his boss before he says anything on the monetary side. I understand that. Thank you, sir. And we close the call now. And thank you all who participated. 14 people still in the call. It's a fantastic. Great. On a Monday morning, which is very,
Thank
very
you, Sanket. Thank you, Chandramouli-san. Thank you, Rupa. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Rupa.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Good
Sanket.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sanket. Bye-bye.
Good day.
Good day.